Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for more Overwatch action, Overwatch 2 action specifically, considering it is our first Overwatch 2 stream ever in South Africa. It is the COWZA Kiriko Cup. I'm Altruism, and joining me is the wonderful Fluffy for his debut weekend. How are you doing, Fluffy?
I'm doing well. We've enjoyed some good Overwatch, and I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad to hear it. You've obviously been very prevalent in the Overwatch scene for a long time. What is the big difference that you're enjoying the most between Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2?
The biggest difference as a player in Overwatch 1 is probably the speed of the fights, and the game is more centric on DPS for all roles. So myself, a support player, support has never just been healer, but support is now DPS with extra steps, and it's very fun if you enjoy that kind of style. I have been enjoying it. I absolutely adore Kiriko, and I'm jealous of all these Kiriko players getting to one-trick Kiriko all day.
Well, that was actually the next point I was going to ask you, is you say DPS is such an important role, and Kiriko has the potential to do so much damage if you can hit those headshots with the kunai. As a support player, you don't even have to worry that much about the healing because you're just throwing out auto-tracking healing papers and then getting some chance to flex yourself. As a powerhouse, as a future meta character, how do you rate the power of Kiriko?
Difficult to tell. I think she will be a strong hero. I think she is, as you say, her DPS is massive. She has such high DPS potential, and a player landing those shots can win team fights very easily. But I think the real strength of Kiriko is in her utility. She is a hero, not a massively healing output hero like someone like Baptiste or like Moira, but her utility is insane. The Suzu, the cleanse, the immortality that it gives has such potential for clutch plays on top of the damage output that she can throw out there.
100% has to be, right? You know, something like those big anti-healing grenades as a support play is what your big role is. If you can land that on 4 or 5 people, it just changes the entire dynamic of the fight. And then you commit into something like that, and suddenly that advantage taken away completely, and you find yourself overextended right now. How have you found, as a support player, that changed the double tank dynamic where you used to have this one tank whose entire job it was to just peel for you? Now you got to kind of look after yourself a little bit more.
A bit of oversimplification, but yeah, it means you have to look after yourself. So the adaptation we're seeing in professional Overwatch is the Lucios are becoming more and more important when it comes to peeling. Lucio is being played a lot as almost a third DPS, but at the same time, someone who looks after people. He looks after the DPS. He looks after the supports. He looks after these squishy characters. As the flex support in that position, it is very much on that flex support to position themselves exceptionally well, because if you don't, you die. You have to land your shots. If you don't, you die. It is really it's. Overwatch 2 is a harder game for supports to play than Overwatch 1 was, but it doesn't mean it's any less enjoyable.
Of course it is. And I hate when you say, yeah, you got to do this or you die, because that was always my specialty, the die part. And now the fact that it's easier to die makes it a little bit more tricky. Thankfully, you don't have a Road Dogg and a Reinhardt pin that you have to worry about at the same time.
That's true.
So there's less things you have to try and concentrate on, and less people on your side that you have to try and track. But I've been excited to see what these teams have been able to do. Obviously, that last game was my first broadcast here. How do you think the South African community is adapting to it? Are we just still running forward, W-keying everything down, or are we starting to see some interesting adaptations in our community?
I think it's still early days, to be honest, because partly with the nature of this competition, this isn't an especially highly competitive competition. This is more of a casual competition where players of all ranks have been thrown together. And at the end of the day, the goal is for them to have fun, and we hope they are. I think we'll see more of that competitive adaptation when we do have teams forming and structure being thrown in there, and then we'll see everyone running it down mid, which is not the worst plan sometimes.
I just like the difference, the fact that Overwatch 1 was very much based on just kind of stall it out, poke and prod until you manage to burn the barriers or get a decent pick, and then it kind of collapse into one big brawl, or throw 7 ultimates at once into one team fight and see who's left standing at the end. Very, very high pace, very individual action that we're getting to see so far. What is your saddest big, this is the last like overarching question, and then we can get into today's matchups. What is your saddest loss to the big wombo combo ultimates that we don't get to see anymore?
I think I have to answer this in 2 parts.
Okay.
First, goats will forever have a place in my heart.
Oh, toxic.
I miss goats every day. I go to sleep at night and I think of goats. But I think the big combo is the Rein Zarya. I think everyone really enjoyed, the Rein Zarya on King's Row. Everyone is gonna miss that, and having that grab and that shatter together, having those 2 tanks that everyone loves playing into, everyone loves playing with. I think that's the biggest loss that everyone is feeling.
Man, there have been so many new Overwatch 2 players that never played Overwatch 1, and they will just never understand King's Row. The obsession that everyone had with King's Row and the Rein Zarya, that main tank difference that defined an entire team. But talking about our teams here today, guys, this is our last broadcast of the day. We're going to be jumping into it very soon. The COWZA versus Edited. Again, this is the Kiriko Cup. If you're not sure how the rules work, every team has to run a Kiriko at all times. It's the time to show off what this new hero is all about. Of course, there are some other new heroes to Overwatch 2 that we never got to see in Overwatch 1. Junker Queen, unfortunately, nerfed into the ground, means we haven't got to see that pretty much the whole weekend. And then, of course, Sojourn has been able to get a little bit of screen time with that ability to do the consistent damage and then that burst pick potential. And today, running through quickly our lineups, the COWZA taking on Light to Go and Quagga as your DPS duo, Scorpion in that tank role, and then Wallace and Hobo Parker coming out as your 2 supports. Anyone from there that stands out to you there, Fluffy?
Big 2 players for me are Quagga and Wallace. Quagga has been around the scene for a long time as a tank player. He's playing DPS this competition, and as we saw in a previous stream, Quagga can land some shots. The Widowmaker is filthy. Wallace is also another renowned player, has been in the scene on very successful teams for a long time. An infamous Lucio, a Reddit Lucio, one of the ones that we love and hate at the same time. He was playing a bit of Moira yesterday, and he was doing some good things and some bad things, giving us all aneurysms. But it was fun to watch.
Moira has even the people who are brand new to Overwatch have gone, Moira, this character should be deleted. Hate that thing, low skill. I don't know, it's allowed me, who has no tracking ability, to come through, and it's nice to see Wallace. I definitely agree with you, the old Beastie Boys support player there. Managed to actually have him on the TV show. Guys, go check out Brain Lag. A little shameless plug there for myself. Peach is shouting at me and my ear, but it doesn't matter at any stage. Go check out Brain Lag. But Wallace, great character, very, very peaceful character, it seems, in his day-to-day life, but when he gets onto that Lucio, doing the most crazy things. Looking at the other side now, Team Edited coming up with its Trizzle and Shadow on your 2 DPS, and I've seen the Twitch chat, lots of fans for that duo on the side there. Paleo, well-known tank player, coming through there, very mobile character, like stuff like the Winston, which we didn't get to see in the previous round, and then Trigger and Zavania coming through on your 2 support players. Anyone on this side that we need to highlight?
For me, the biggest name that we're going to see is Trizzle. He is a DPS player who is playing DPS. It is his role. We talked earlier about how Overwatch 2 is at times quite DPS centric, and if a Widowmaker is hitting their shots or a Tracer is in your backline uncontested, it can really decide a match. So it'll be interesting to see what Trizzle can do, if maybe he can stamp his authority on this game. The other big name is Trigger, a formerly off-tank player, I suppose now tank player, who has been enjoying the Kiriko and has been landing a lot of shots and getting a lot of value on Kiriko.
Oh, that's big when you already have 2 big, very reliable DPS players who can take a lot of headshots, and then you throw in an amazing Kiriko player. It just means people can melt instantly. Very excited to see it, and as we are getting ready for this, guys, it is of course starting on our control point maps. We saw it earlier when I was with Sun Phoenix. We're going to be heading to Lijiang Tower as our first map, and Fluffy, Lijiang has been a a cornerstone of control point maps since Overwatch's inception, really. What is it that's defining it about Lijiang that makes teams love it so much?
I think it's the variation between the three. The three rounds are so different. Still, they keep the unique identity of the map. You've got Night Market with its control of point that we're going to see shortly. We've got the gardens with the bridges, the infamous bridges, and those Lucios going wild. And then we've got the closed off Rhine-centric maps that everyone loves to see, those Reinhardt head-to-heads. Maybe we'll see some later, we don't know yet. So it's these 3 points that keep this unique identity of Lijiang Tower, but at the same time are very unique and allow teams to play in one map lots of different kinds of comps.
One map, so many different comps, and that's kind of what we want to get to see. This is a fun competition, and so we want to see everyone bringing out their most common characters. Some of them obviously more viable for most people, but we've seen anyone, if you feel comfortable on a character, you can make it work. And I feel like that's something that Overwatch 1 didn't really allow for, is that there were very set meta compositions at each stage. And sometimes when GOATS was there was just nothing that could compete about it. Overwatch 2, much more versatile, you think?
So far we've seen, if we think about the professional scene, we've seen so many heroes. And normally the professional scene is so stagnant with... there is only 1 or 2 tanks you can play. There are only 3 or 4 DPS you can play. There's only 2 or 3 supports you can play. But no, in the professional scene, we've seen a huge variation of compositions. We've seen Monkey, we've seen Doomfist, we've seen Orisa even. And that stands here as well. People are playing what they're good at, and it's working for them.
I mean, here we have a complete mirror matchup. Sojourn and the Genji taken up by both teams. The D.Va, a very favored tank so far in Overwatch 2 in general, being able to mitigate that damage. Kiriko, the obvious option. And there we see Wallace and Zivania on the very toxic Moira as both teams start going towards the point. And it will be interesting after this first fight to see how these two teams come out. Scorpion being the one to pick up the first kill, taking out Shadow there, and it is going to be Paleo returning that D-Mech kill, and both teams trading it out so far, slashing back and forth, the burst potential, the damage mitigation. So far, though, we do see that is team... Goodness, I forgot the team's name right now. It's Edited. Not... Edited, yeah,
Cowza.
Being the ones to take that one, take the loss on that first point. COWZA being the one to pick up the first point.
Yeah, it was a really well-taken fight, and we're actually going to see a swap here, which is interesting. I think Paleo decided he doesn't want to take this 1v1, this D.Va versus D.Va, and he's going to swap to Zarya. Zarya is a very strong hero into D.Va, because D.Va cannot defense matrix that beam.
Oh, yeah, indeed. And the ability to use those double bubbles on yourself keeps you safe for longer. You get the bigger health pool now compared to Overwatch 1, and you can build up that charge so reliably. Now you can see that big beam starting to cleave through everyone, pushing back this COWZA side, and no fear from Paleo to run forward in. Still has to worry about that. The Dragon Blade gets one pick, but then goes down instantly as light to go. Trizzle being able to secure that. Still, Trizzle and Shadow going to pay with their life. Wallace using that coalescence to cleave through everyone, and it's still COWZA looking very strong on the point.
That was good ult usage, good combination. They used the Dragon Blade and they used the Coalescence, and they got good value out of them. And now, importantly, they're going to come up to their next ults, and hopefully they can get value from those. We are going to see a big ult fight from the other side. Grab is going to be big. If they can grab even just one target and kill that target, that could be fight over. So, if Edited can use their ults effectively here, it seems to be in favor of them.
Sojourn on Trizzle on Sojourn using that ramped up ability to get those instant headshots. Hasn't managed to get any picks out of it. Still very dangerous. And a good flex back coming out here from COWZA. They do lose Wallace near the beginning of the fight. They baited in here. Here comes a bomb. It's placed outside of the zone though. Still manages to get out Paleo, and so big kills, and the ball keeps on rolling here for the COWZA side, being able to chain together fight after fight. And it seems like I don't think that Editor's even going to be able to come back and contest this point.
And that was worst case scenario for Edited. They had so many ults, but they didn't get any value out of them. They didn't use them. Look at them now with Dragon Blade, Grav, and Kitsune Rush, and they didn't get the opportunity to use them. That was not a great round for Edited, but it was really, really well played by COWZA. They got value out of the ults, and they got important picks when they needed to.
Those picks so pivotal, and that I gotta admit that's one big thing that I have noticed about this new 5v5 style. Even when I play it on my own, the fights tend to drag out longer, but it's almost longer to get to that first pick. Once that first pick goes down, you really can escalate it because you've now lost 20% of your team, as opposed to the 5v5. If you lost a tank, the other tank could kind of stall it out for a little bit. Your one support goes down. You could still kind of protect that second support. How do you feel about the team compositions coming into this? Big diversity being shown by the two teams.
Massive. So we're seeing the Reinhardt we spoke about earlier, and they're going to have the Ana to sustain. On the other hand, we're seeing an exact same comp as the previous round. They're going to want to play super aggressive into this Reinhardt. That might be an issue with how much damage Reinhardt can throw out.
You did say that Reinhardt was very prevalent here on the control center because of the closed quarters. Is going to lose his shield very quickly. Trizzle falling very, very low. Shadow as well, but somehow the support still being able to keep up this edited side. They're flexing back. They're dropping low. And eventually it is Trizzle going to be falling first. Zivania, Shadow falling straight afterwards. And it seems like edited, even with their DPS prowess, not able to return the kills.
Now that was a well-played fight. They from COWZA. They backed up, soaked up that pressure, and then executed well. The one concern is they are losing Diva Mech a lot. If Edited can recognize this and exploit that fact, it could be a point of weakness. It could bring them victory.
Another attempt coming out now. Paleo leading the charge, and there's a split coming out here from COWZA, just being pushed up that stand. You talked about it earlier, that flex ability to just evade the Reinhardt. Remember, Paleo does not have a Lucio to help along with the speed boost. Instead, he decides to take matters into his own hand, charges forwards, has to now die to that Coalescence, but managed to get 2 kills in the beginning. It's up to the rest of Edited to try to stay alive, but there's nothing they can do against Scorpion, who charges forward and cleans it up.
A good fight, really good fight. You thought it was going the other direction. Edited got massive picks, but then COWZA got to turn it around. And we're seeing again, similar to the last round, look how many ults Edited have, and they're not getting to use them. They're not getting value out of them. They're going to have 4 ults in this fight. And there's nothing to show for it.
Here comes Kitsune Rush. Now it allows Paleo to charge forward. There goes the Dragon Blade coming out here from Trizzle. He manages to pick up, backed up by the wonderful Tag Visor. And even with an attempt there from Lighter to draw his own Dragon Blade and turn that around, it was way too little, way too late, and a little bit of a waste, you would say.
Absolutely. A waste, but not the worst case scenario. COWZA are not, oh, that's a bad pick. COWZA can really exploit this, but COWZA have the driving seat out. They have 75%. Edited used all of their ults in that fight with the exception of Shadow. Shadow can get a lot of value in the world without shields.
Oh, and there's a big Shadow. And the cleanse, instantly Kiriko showing value to be able to pick up everyone who was down from the Earth Shatter. There was no shields to stop that at the beginning of the fight, and so it should have been Edited. Being able to take that from the beginning. Trizzle, now having rejoined the fight, has to fight into the Kitsune Rush that's coming out from COWZA, and COWZA show no signs of slowing down. They keep charging forward. Another good cleanse, but Paleo gets the Fire Strike onto Wallace, gets the pin onto Scorpion. The D-Mech is out there, and COWZA may have overstepped a little bit too far. Trizzle hunting down piece after piece of the rest of this lineup and cleans it up. COWZA deflected back, and we're looking like a much more level game.
Yeah, we are. That was a real yo-yo of a fight. We saw Paleo open with a great Shatter, but then the great response with the Suzu, and then we saw the fight shift back in the other direction. We're seeing an engagement with Coalescence now. I think COWZA is going to back up and take this fight on their own terms.
COWZA trying to make space, coming forwards with that Coalescence. They managed to chew through Paleo. That is big, just showing Scorpion. Scorpion goes down the other way, though, so neither team with their tank. It's going to be up to a much more individual play. And when it comes down to individual play, that's where someone like Trizzle is able to show their might. Dodging around with Genji, putting pressure on the people on the high ground. COWZA trying for a bit of a flex, and here comes the flex. Trizzle coming through. He's managed to build up that ultimate once more and use it to such great efficacy to clean this up. Edited already up to 94%, and it's going to be up to COWZA to try and come back onto the point. Light is here with his own. Taken down instantly. No room for that Dragon Blade. Now Kitsune Rush to clean this off for Edited, and 2 great fights at the end there to win this game.
Absolutely. That was a great fight. Very different to the first round we saw. The first round being very one-sided in this for COWZA. This one being more measured. I think maybe the Reinhardt is an issue. pushing into that Reinhardt, COWZA seem very focused on the Reinhardt, which takes a lot of deep attention away from Trizzle and away from Shadow. It gives them space to do their work. The one concern, again, is Palio is dying a lot with all that attention being forced on him. It'll be interesting to see if they decide to stick on the Reinhardt with this not being Reinhardt's best map.
And you know, when you're considering that you're favoring something like Zvenio on the Ana, you're expecting the amount of heals to come out to be able to keep Palio alive. And is it just positioning that's coming out that's the big problem here? Or is it just that the target priority and the burst damage coming out from COWZA is too much for Palio to handle?
I think it's a bit of both. I think Palio could be playing his angles better, he could be using cover a bit better, but also it is so much damage and so much pressure on the Ana. The Ana has to deal with a Genji in her face. If she has a Genji in her face, she can't heal all the time. That means Reinhardt and tanks have to play safer, as we're seeing big picks coming out now from Edited.
Indeed, Wallace did get into the back line, getting up onto that Lucio that he's so well renowned for, trying to put pressure on the Ana, like you said, kind of acting as that pseudo third DPS, but was not able to stop that healing coming in. It gave Palio and the rest of the team the room to push forwards. And it's going to be up to COWZA, who looked so dominant at the beginning on the entire first map, it has to be said. And then for the first half of Control Center, now they're the ones on the back foot trying to make an entrance into this next fight. They've obviously swapped Scorpion onto the Zarya once more. Trizzle still doing great work to dash in and out of this. Palio going to be able to take out a nice pick here on line to go. So with Trizzle constantly again in this back line, it kind of puts pressure. Quagga trying to fire in damage from above, but kind of just having to turn round and round to track down Trizzle. Eventually does get him. Palio gets out Hoba Parker. And so the support's traded for the DPS. Quagga, though, has all the space he needs now and follows in the rest of the team to take control of this point. Palio, the last to die.
Interesting fight, a real back and forth. Again, we've seen that before, but these Genjis in each other's backlines are an issue. You feel like the teams can identify that, hopefully, going forward. Focus down that Genji, help their backline, and then go on to win the fight 5v4. We're going to see big ults coming out here. The big one to look out for is the Shatter. The Shatter has no opposition. There is no shield other than the Zarya bubbles to block it. The other one is obviously the Grav.
Grav's going to be the first one to start us off in this fight, and it creates this big tunnel. Shadow gets thrown out the other way. It beats drop down straight away. Wallace being able to stay out of range of that. Palio still decides to charge in. All the ultimates being dropped here from Edited. They have decided that they are winning this here and now before any more percentage can come up, and it seems to be working. Shoots straight through the COWZA backline, and it's just poor Lighter who has had to flee towards the hills.
Yeah, it was an important fight, but also very expensive for Edited. Yeah. They used the Nano Blade, they used the Visor, they used the Shatter, and they didn't get value from their Shatter, so they were forced to use more ults. We're going to see, in all likelihood, a swap straight back to COWZA with all of the ults that are coming in. They're going to have their Blade and their Visor, which I can see getting a lot of value.
An early pick here for Edited would be so good. They do have that Kitsune Rush to try and challenge in here. It seems like they are going to want to do it here. Charging forwards, just getting up that little bit of extra ability and progress for them to walk through. But it's nothing against Lighter, who is managing to cleave across the back line. That Genji that we've been talking about time and time again. 4 kills coming up for Lighter Ugo. And Quagga picks up the last one, exactly as you said. It was Edited, winning that last fight, but instantly turned back.
Yeah, I think COWZA have identified their win condition. They need to ignore the Reinhardt, kill the backline, and then deal with the Reinhardt later. That is, we're seeing a lot of in Overwatch 2, and now they're getting good stagger picks. How COWZA are playing this so far is perfect. Edited are overinvesting ults, and it's costing them. If they can sort out their ult economy going forward, then we can see some big things. Again, they have the Shatter online. It hasn't got a lot of value, but the Shatter can be big. It can be fight winning. You only need to shatter one person, and that can be the fight won.
I think it's important, though, to shatter the right person, because we did see that Kitsune, that Suzu, that cleansing Suzu, be able to take it. Seems like Edited still want to try and fight this out there, dropping that shatter. It's gone into the Kitsune Rush and the Graviton Surge from COWZA. And so there is absolutely nothing that comes out of that right now. Edited throw what little they had in the bank into it when they arguably still had another fight there.
Yeah, you think they do, and now they're looking at, they only really have their Nano and maybe their Visors coming online soon, and they have to touch. They're going to be at a disadvantage here. We're going into as well a Blade and a Visor from the other side, and importantly, Beat. Beat can nullify all of the value that Shadow's Visor can bring out.
100%. Trizzle trying to get you. Someone has to get to the point in the next couple of seconds. It is going to be the charging Paleo. Here comes the Suzu to try and give it out. Wallace gets the beat down, gets the overhold onto everyone around them. Paleo just deciding to wait this out, hold up that shield, and somehow Editor's getting the picks. Shadow manages to pick up 2 in this. Doesn't even need a visor to be able to track it down. Scorpion goes off to the side of the fight, the back, and somehow Editor turn it around, and I don't think COWZA's going to be able to get back to this.
I don't think they're going to. Someone's going for the rollout. There comes the Lucio, but no, he's not going to be able to touch. That was very well played. Edited identified their win condition, and they played grouped, they played together, they protected each other, and they got value out of their ultimates. It was really, really well played. That was after a slow start. That was a really, really close finish from both teams.
What do you think it was that separated that at the end, as we get to see Wallace's play on the game on the most toxic character besides Mei that's ever been into Overwatch? I mean, Sombra's currently arguing for that, but that last fight, such a pivotal fight, and no really big moments that suddenly went through. It kind of started with Paleo just charging in there, getting the cleansing Suzu on top, and then holding the shield and just hoping his team can chew through the rest of COWZA.
To be honest, that was the play to make. Sometimes holding the shield is the play. They took that space, they got onto point, and they played together. That was the important part. Edited really grouped together, and they protected each other. Because we did see big ults from COWZA, but they couldn't really get value for them because on one hand they were using cover well, they were blocking off one sideline with cover, and on the other hand they had the Reinhardt shield protecting them from the other side. So we didn't see that COWZA's tactical visor didn't get any value, where on the other hand Edited's tactical visor, which was nanoed, got a lot of value. It got a pick, which is massive. That first pick is so important. Once that happened, the fight kind of snowballed out of COWZA's control, and we saw Edited finish really well.
Amazing how it's not even just the ultimate game. Those can make a big difference, but teams kind of throwing those ultimates so quickly after each other, it kind of erupts into 3 or 4 seconds of absolute madness for both these teams. And it's whoever can choose the correct targets to pick off at the beginning of the fight. Trizzle doing an excellent job of that on that Genji, constantly being a problem and kind of mitigating the healing that can come out for the rest of the team. And that's the one thing about Paleo, it wasn't Paleo, sorry, running that Zarya, was the fact, Scorpion on the Zarya, was the fact that once you've used your bubbles, once you've tried to push forward with that super high charge, if the other team decide that this is the time to go and they can survive through you chewing them down with your beam, they can kind of chew through you very quickly. Zarya is not a person with escape, not exactly the tankiest character, and if there is that 8 seconds between when those bubbles come down, it means you are in big trouble if the rest of your team can't take you down. Very, very good job from Editor to be able to recognize those moments of weakness and capitalize on it. And how do you think this is going to change now as we, of course, go to our second map, the push map?
We've seen push can be quite one-sided. We're going to go to Esperanza, the newest of the push maps, so maybe we'll see some unfamiliarity with the maps. We have seen it before. It'll be interesting. I think the interesting thing will be if Paleo decides to stick on the Reinhardt, because he looks like he's struggling on the Reinhardt. Without that Lucio speed, he is struggling to cover that ground. His shield is dying, and at that point, he's just a big sponge. If he can cover that ground with a Lucio, maybe, we might see more value out of it. The struggle is, unfortunately, teams have to play the Kiriko, so we can't see something like Lucio Baptiste. On the other hand, if COWZA decide to either match the Reinhardt or to try something else, because the aggression will work into the Reinhardt comp that doesn't have speed boost, but they have to pick off the parts. I feel like they're focusing too much on the Reinhardt. They need to go around the Reinhardt, kill the supports, then worry about the Reinhardt.
That strategy definitely worked, right? Once you ignore Paleo, if you just get Paleo into not the most opportune, you just avoid that hammer, you kind of ignore him after that. And that's where Paleo started to have to make very risky moves, charging through. Obviously, with the new Reinhardt changes, you can cancel that charge, so it can be just used as a distance closing mechanism. But once you're in, you're kind of committed to it, and Paleo then gets out of way. Instead, it seems Paleo going to be swapping to the Roadhog. Trizzle going to be picking up the Sombra that has shown a lot of prevalence in here. Quagga sticking onto the Widowmaker could be interesting. Yeah. Scorpion there on the Orisa, so a complete change-up. Which of these lineups do you favor?
Absolutely different from the last round. It'll be really interesting how they play this. To be honest, If COWZA can land his shots, it's in favor of COWZA, but the Genji and Sombra is so aggressive. I worry about the Roadhog decision though, because Roadhog can struggle into Orisa, who has that Fortify. I think at this point it's really on whether Trizzle or COWZA can get more value on their respective picks.
I mean, at this stage, COWZA gonna be hard. Oh! Okay, that answers that question. I mean, Genji, a difficult character to get, and Sombra even more so. And Sombra has that ability to flank around to the Widow, scoped in, and pick it off. And there it is, straight away. The counter pick comes out. Trizzle just having to need the time to get there. Unfortunately for COWZA, Shadow will be rejoining this fight quickly, and in fact, is almost back in here straight away. There is a great teleport out there. Shadow Step from, not Shadow Step, that's Reaper coming out from the Kiriko on Edited, and Edited still fighting it out in the center. Trizzle gets another one, but pays with his life. And you said that Palio was going to struggle against Scorpion. Scorpion goes down to the big meaty shotguns that is Roadhog.
He does. I think we saw a great start from COWZA, who's now swapped over to the Soldier. A great pick on the Widowmaker, but we did see that Trizzle getting more value on that Sombra, like we saw before. The envelopment, the Genji and the Sombra, wrapping around the tank, killing the people around it, and then just killing the Orisa at the end. They don't need to worry about the Orisa. And they're getting the rewards for that really well taken fight.
Well taken. It's about the tempo. Trizzle has to get in position and does so now. Manages to hack up Lighter and gets that pick at the beginning of the fight. Now it's up to COWZA, kind of stuck in the middle of his team. Not the most ideal place for a sniper to want to be, but kind of scared to go off on their own. Now Scorpion isolated as well, gets hooked and is running for their life, being chased. Massive EMP comes out there on a couple of players, and poor COWZA now just left alone at the end there. Sorry, that was Hobo Parker being left alone. Wallace on the point on the Moira. That's not going to keep you alive for too long, and it seems like Edited quite comfortable to keep this push going.
Yeah, now seeing this is a dangerous situation for COWZA. Edited are about to push the checkpoint, which is a massive thing. They really want to contest before it gets to the checkpoint. I don't think they're going to. We're going to see a difficult fight here. Hopefully the Lighter goes, a Blade can get value, maybe in combination with Wallace's Coalescence. Wallace has got a lot of value out of Coalescences already in this match.
That's a big aspect. There are no big defensive ults coming out here from Edited. They've got the Coalescence, but against the Blade, that might not do too much. Here comes the Orisa pull in there, trying to set something up for Lighter's Blade to get work, but Lighter has only managed to now get off the first slice, and so no really big combinations coming out there. But the sign was there. The Blade came out, the Orisa ult came out, and the rest of COWZA kind of just took that as go time and pushed forward very hard.
That's good. There was good aggressive play. COWZA pushed together as 5, and like I said, we saw the Blade. It only got 1, but that's enough. And we saw a great Coalescence from Wallace. He kept everyone alive, and he did a lot of damage with it. Unfortunately, they did get that cap, and we're seeing a dangerous fight now. Oh, that's big.
Man, Shadow being able to pick up that triple Dragon Blade kill, activated by that Kitsune Rush, gets the extra pace to charge down the targets that he needs, gets the quicker swipes to be able to slice through everyone fast. And for the first time, it's COWZA investing a lot into a fight and Edited returning very quickly in kind.
Absolutely, we're seeing a swap now. This is where push can get difficult because you can't just win one fight. You can't just go even if you're on the defense. You have to be winning multiple fights in a row to get push. And unfortunately, COWZA won that very important fight, but they couldn't win the second fight.
Oh, Scorpion now in a very bad position. The rest of the team was set, chasing down Trizzle in the back alleys, and Scorpion now, unfortunately, demeched at the beginning of the fight. Another good hack comes out. The hook comes there. Somehow, COWZA manages to teleport out there. It's going to be an attempt from COWZA to try and stay in this with the Kitsune Rush, but they're not really getting too much out of it. Shadow is going to fall there. But the rest of COWZA not really being able to push into the stalwart wall that is Edited. Edited now drops that Coalescence, being able to get there. It's an optimistic bomb coming out there from Scorpion. Palio not able to take a breather through that, and so is going to fall on the point. Still Edited looking quite healthy. They've got a lot of damage that they want to throw in here, but a lot of very squishy targets, and as soon as you start collapsing onto them individually, there's not long for this world, and COWZA managed to take control of this point. Whether it's going to translate into a push, though, is not certain yet.
No, now is the big decision. COWZA have stabilized, and importantly, they kept 2 massive ults. They used their ults well. Again, we saw a great Coalescence from Wallace cleaning up that fight. Now the big question is, can they win the second fight? If they don't win the second fight, that first fight will all be for nothing.
They do have the ultimates and advantage, though. Quagga's got the EMP to come through. Lighter also going to be enabled through that to use his Dragon Blade, and hacks out of the EMP. Quagga went for that in mid-air and gets denied, and so wastes the ultimate. Edited stay alive in this. Unfortunately, it was an amazing play, but the rest of the team just have nothing to deal with Lighter's Dragon Blade, which started off, and Scorpion keeping it going with kill after kill. It was COWZA being able to pick up the second fight and finally get a good push going.
That was one of the best plays from Trizzle we've seen all tournament. He cancelled Quagga's EMP with his own manual hack. Unfortunately for his team, COWZA used the rest of their ults really, really effectively, and like you say, they importantly won this fight. If they can keep winning these fights, it'll be really good for them. They want to be able to cap this checkpoint now.
Couple of ults now in the bag for Edited. They've got the chance to turn this around. They're going to start it off with that whole hog, but the problem is the whole hog locks you in there, and Scorpion manages to get a second Diva Bomb kill on Pally in a row, and the rest of the team cleaned up straight away. A very quick fight, even with Edited investing in just the one ultimate for them, which is a small consolation prize.
Yeah, not the worst fight for Edited, because now they're going to get to take a second fight. They took their first fight, they baited out ultimates from COWZA. Unfortunately, COWZA then capped. Edited are going to be able to take their second fight after checkpoint with their own ults, but that's a big hack, and here we see the engagement.
Trizzle gets the hack and takes out Wallace at the beginning here, and here comes Kitsune Rush combined again with the Dragon Blade. It's a very potent combination we've seen so far, time and time again. Shadow makes it work, and a quick cleanup here from Edited.
Yeah, things are more even now. This looks to be one of the more even push maps we've had this competition. Push can be quite snowbally, quite one-sided, but we're seeing both teams have pushed beyond that checkpoint. That is a big, big thing. We're now going to see, again, it's same as before. Both the defending team must win 2 fights. COWZA must win this fight and then win the next, and that's a bad pick-off from Hobart Parker and then Quagga.
I mean, fight pretty much over before it even started there. Again, Trizzle making that space into the background, picking off a key target, and it seems like Edited just content to keep walking with the robot.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate, with just people being picked off and not really getting a clean fight. The silver lining is now COWZA have lots of ults they can throw at this fight, but again, they're going to want to be conservative with their ults. They want to use a few ults, win the fight, and then save some for next fight that they have to win as well. The big issue is those EMPs for both teams.
EMP first comes out here from COWZA, does manage to start it off. Wallace combining that with the Coalescence, chewing through everyone. COWZA kind of dumping all of their ultimates into this fight besides Scorpion. They will still have the Self-Destruct and the Dragon Blade for the next fight, but a very, very economical fight for Edited to bait that all out from COWZA.
Yeah, importantly, Edited keep their EMP. That is a massive keep for them. They're going to keep their whole hog as well. On the other side, COWZA did use their EMP, but they have their Dragon Blade. And again, we're seeing great coalescences from Wallace. Unfortunately, with using that EMP, it's unsure if they can get massive value now going into the EMP.
Drizzle starts it off with a hack in the background. This is after Lighter got hooked in there. And Scorpion once more finds that pick onto Palio. That's 3 times in a row the Roadhog has gone down to the Diva Self-Destruct. And without that control, that very limited CC that Roadhog provides into this Overwatch 2 lineup, it is that Dragon Blade once more. Lighter having gotten so many kills off that Dragon Blade.
Yeah, I was saying how COWZA were going to struggle into Trizzle's EMP, but they proved me wrong. They EMP'd and they weathered the storm and they survived and they got those picks. Palio dying to that bomb, it was really bad. You lose your tank, it's so bad. Oh, but that's a massive hook.
Great hook to start us off there. Quagga out of this fight. No hacks to disrupt this. And it means that Shadow able to get into the backline now, doing a huge amount. Even Trizzle has the freedom to walk forwards, knowing that there's going to be very little counterplay. And it's just going to be the baby Diva. 104 meters now on the board here from Edited. Just 86 from COWZA. COWZA going to be the ones that have to turn around. And having that deficit in that time bank, or at least in that distance bank, means that they basically have to walk this from start to finish on their own.
Oh, big pick off there. We're going to see hopefully an engagement from COWZA taking advantage of that pick. Both teams pushing really well, playing this really well, and more picks.
Every time it stalls out, though, it kind of favors Edited. So Lighter going down as an equally big pick. Hobo Parker, Kwagga, all of these players trading back and forth between the two teams. Here comes another optimistic bomb. Paleo finally manages to avoid this one. And with 4 ultimates on the side of Edited, they just need to hold this out. 9 seconds left into it. A big EMP comes out, though. That was Kwagga dropping that. And they've managed to take control of this bot. What is the name of this bot now? I haven't figured it out.
I don't know if it has a
robot so
name.
far. It does have a name. It's a very well-known name in the community. Unfortunately, Overwatch 2 only being out for a couple of weeks. I still don't know it yet. In chat, let us know if you know it. The main thing, though, COWZA being able to push. They are in overtime. They've got another nearly 20 meters to go. They have so many ultimates to go into. The first one going to be dropped is that Coalescence. Sylvania wasting no time on this. Paleo goes in there. Big EMP comes out there from Trizzle. Manages to shut it down. Opens up the space for Shadow. And it may just have been Shadow and Trizzle opening up and cleaving through that back line, giving Edited their second game in a row.
Yeah, an exceptionally close round. We saw both teams push super far. Unfortunately, COWZA just didn't have the ults for that last fight. Edited came in with 4 ults, used them, and got value. I think if we do see this being a 3-0, I don't think that'll be a fair reflection on COWZA. The games have been exceptionally close.
Oh, 100%. You've got to think that these two are so evenly matched right now. It has been both of these teams. In fact, all 5 players from both teams have come to the party. We've seen Hobo Parker on that Kikiro managing to cleanse off big plays. Everything from an Earth Shatter to keeping people alive at the last moment. The DPS, we've given them a lot of credit so far. Sylvania with those Coalescence matched out by Wallace's Coalescence from both sides. Just adding so much sustain to it. What's been amazing to me is being as 1 or 2 picks go down, though. We mentioned it earlier at the beginning. 1 or 2 picks just kind of coalesces. It just kind of carries on cascading into an entire team wipe within a second or two for either of these sides.
Yeah, it's the first pick in Overwatch is so important, and an ult getting 1 pick just wins the fight. So, like you said earlier in our first map, it feels like you get that 1 pick and then everyone dies immediately afterwards. But we're seeing really good plays, as you say, from both sides. Every individual is stepping up. I hope COWZA can bring a map back because I don't want to see this end as a 3-0. I want to see more of these two teams playing against each other.
I want to see more of this. Hells yeah. I mean, this is the last match for the weekend. Let's try and drag this out. It is, if you guys don't know, a 1st to 3. So Edited now on the verge of being able to take today's action completely cleanly. For those of you, the little trivia question that I asked, it is TWO, Tall Walking Omnic 2. In other words, Overwatch 2. Very cute little name. No, unfortunately, lol god, his name is not Bobbit, but that would be adorable as well. We can call him that as a very familiar term, but his name is Tall Walking Omnic. That's come out here for the push map. That is the end of the push map, though. What?
We're going to see, for the first time in this competition, I believe, we're going to see Pariso, one of the new maps, a hybrid map set in Brazil. An interesting map. Very different on the 3 points. Has some oppressive high grounds on the second point that the defenders can really abuse. First point is also an interesting point because a lot of teams like to hold very early on the first bridge. Some people then prefer to hold further back around the high grounds of the point. It's a similar point to Numbani point A.
Ooh, I always enjoyed Numbani as a whole. That first point, very iconic there. I think what's most exciting to me is this is exciting for 2 reasons. A, it's a new map that we're getting to see, and that's what this tournament's all about. And also, it's not King's Row.
The South African community loves King's Row. It's honestly a surprise that we didn't go to King's Row. We get to see Pariso, the newest hybrid map. What are your thoughts on Pariso? Have you got to play it at all?
Oh, not enough to have any designated strategies right now. I mean, colorful, wonderful to watch, I must admit, but it's going to be interesting. What is the basic? You're our wonderful analyst. What is the best lineup here? Do you think that these teams are still going to be playing what they're most comfortable on, which kind of seems to be the story of the day, especially for something like COWZA? Or I mean, I wouldn't trust myself on a Sombra on this map, let's be fair, because I don't know where the health packs are. I don't know where the little sneaky side alleys are to be able to flank your other team.
I don't know if I can say, because we saw such a different look from both teams from the first map to the second map. I mean, we went from Reinhardt head-to-heads to a Hog Diva head-to-head. So with what the teams are going to pull out, I'm not sure. I think the teams will need to, for second point, if we see second point, I think they'll need to have some high ground contest. I think that's one thing that can't go unsaid. High ground is very, very important on the second point with how the defenders can set up on this abusive high ground. If we see that, remains to be seen. We might see some more Roadhog because Edited seem to have a lot of success with the Roadhog. I think we might see more Sombra with how well Trizzle and COWZA were both playing that hero as well.
That was a very big aspect of it. And it's interesting that you say that Roadhog could be a good pick here, because at the beginning, it was one of those that you were not 100% sure what the role was going to be, but it did prove very effective to be able to kind of just stand next to the big robot and kind of just dominate that position. Anyone who comes in is at big risk of being hooked. And we did see Scorpion especially being taken out a couple of times. Scorpion, though, proving to be just as pivotal, being able to blow up Paleo a couple of times. Trizzle could be coming out on the Widowmaker. That could be interesting. That could be very interesting.
It would be great to see a Widowmaker head-to-head between COWZA and Trizzle. I don't know if we will. COWZA has been enjoying playing the Sombra, and we're going to see the Widowmaker leave spawn, so it is not going to be... Is he going to swap? Is he going to take a shot and turn around?
Off, jumps up into there, tries to get that early pick now. It's going to be COWZA on the Sojourn, in fact, one of the other new characters here, has that ability to also get a couple of picks, and Shadow sticking onto that Genji has been having so much success with it. We do see the high ground ability coming out there. Trizzle getting that second pick now, taking out COWZA, so being able to take out the DPS quickly, but a lot of high ground mobility being favored here from Edited. And they've worked well so far. Trizzle picking up that third pick, taking out Scorpion, and pretty much uncontested as he can rain death onto these points.
Yeah, an uncontested Widowmaker is probably the most dangerous thing in the game. Not much you can do. You just get slowly picked off one by one.
Ooh.
We saw... Oh, great shot. Now we're going to see the Widow head-to-head. COWZA has swapped, and he's come back, and he's got a 3K!
Oh, that's beautiful. It's exactly what you wanted. No one was contesting Trizzle, and before he even knows what's coming, it is that Widowmaker, that clip into the head. Amazing play. So far, at the beginning of that, it seemed Trizzle was just going to be backed up by Zivania on the Moira. No one able to really come in there. It was Lighter trying to do that on the Genji. But now, the head-to-head, and I don't know who I favor between these two, but I think it's going to be personal.
Two very good Widowmakers. I think it's more than anything, it's going to come down to who's just feeling it today. COWZA has the disadvantage of being on defense. He can't choose his sightlines as freely as Trizzle can. But this is... Oh, that's the first pick. Ow, and COWZA gets the advantage.
There we go. COWZA is the one who's able to take it out. Lighter also trading out in the DPS jewels to be able to take out his counterpart. Now it's up to Scorpion to be able to chew through. And this is the big thing about Azaria. Such an imposing presence. One of the highest DPS in the game. You've got to pay attention to that. But it means you're pretty much ignoring that DPS of the COWZA Widowmaker behind you. And between the two of them, clean up the entire kill.
It's an interesting dynamic because we have the two Widowmakers dominating the match with regards to their sightlines. But then, oh, that's a big pick. But then we have the Zarya and we have the D.Va offering very different things to their teams.
The Zarya, the D.Va. The D.Va's role right now kind of wants to try and shut down as much damage as possible. But like you said earlier, that defense matrix counts for nothing against the Zarya beam. And so unable to go toe-to-toe in the front lines. Decides to go over the top. Drops an optimistic bomb. Is going to pick up a 3K. Paleo opens everything up that Edited could have needed. That should be everything that they need to be able to claim this first point.
You know, so far we've seen individual heroics from COWZA, we've seen individual heroics from Paleo now. Two plays that have defined this map so far. It'll be interesting to see if we see a swap from COWZA if they decide to stay on this Zarya on second point with the high grounds. The fact they have high grounds, they can keep it. Oh, and then we see the first pick of Trizzle gets COWZA.
Man, it is definitely becoming a personal fight right now, especially when Trizzle took those first couple of losses. And the high ground threatening ability that Editor is coming out, being shown off here. Both teams realizing how important it is that they can get up there. Trizzle carries on that killing streak, taking out Wallace. Paleo just fighting it out against the Genji on the top here. It is going to be difficult. Somehow Lighter stays alive for so long and manages to turn this around, followed up by a big Graviton Surge, and Lighter dashing through the center just opens it up, and just for good measure, just for a little bit of salt in the wounds, COWZA takes out Trizzle once more.
Yeah, a very good Widow head-to-head. They're fairly even right now. It's now an interesting position because COWZA have stabilized on second, and now they can decide how they want to take this fight. We are going to see blades from both teams. These could be pivotal.
We see here comes the Consider Rush. Trizzle waiting in this backline, looking for it, but as soon as he finds the COWZA spot, he gets taken out. It's just the immediate shots, and COWZA carries on going. There's a Genji Blade in the backline, and both of them working together. Of course, Wallace trying to get in on his own, getting some draining action there. Hasn't been ahead of the kill feed, but so far, it's Scorpion, COWZA, and Lighter just doing such an amount of damage so quickly to any unsuspecting victims. Where do you even look if you're edited? You'll again.
I think we're seeing an interesting swap here. We're going to see Paleo go off of the Diva onto the Zarya. I think Dano gets COWZA.
Was that a reflect or just a couple of shurikens? Yep, there we go. Just bait it out for a couple of seconds. That actually opens things up a lot here for Edited. The fact that you now don't have to worry about in the backline gives Shadow that confidence to go forward. And look how deep he's diving, going with that Genji Blade. He really wants this Moira, but avoided the whole way so far and ends up paying with his life. Payload still moving quite comfortably, but it did cost him his life to get that space for Edited, and it opens things up now for COWZA to turn around. Scorpion now contesting the point, is fighting it out, time toe-to-toe with Zarya. Nice cleanse comes out there. The Suzu from Trigger keeps it up. Lighter being the one to now take out Trizzle, and Zivania falls to COWZA as well. Still, the fight carries on. Edited being pushed back. Every one of these picks from COWZA just kind of feels like Edited has to reevaluate their strategy.
These fights are being won and lost in these picks on this high ground. Whoever has the high ground control is dominating. When COWZA falls, COWZA are losing high ground, and the fight seems to be in the favor of Edited. We're going to see a swap now. Trizzle has had enough of the Widowmaker 1v1. He's swapped to Sombra, and COWZA doesn't seem happy about it in chat.
Too easy for him at this stage. What's interesting is this combination as well, the ability that this Kiriko is able to offer both these Widowmakers, being able to teleport to them and stop anyone diving on top of them, overwhelming them. And now it's just, I hear a Widowmaker gun going off there. And no, Trizzle in fact has gone onto the Sombra, but it's not going to help when you get Graviton Surge up like that. The ultimate's coming out there, Scorpion doing a great job, and even dropping the blade at the end there. It is COWZA wanting to clean this off. They've managed to tick down the time to just a couple of seconds left, and getting everyone quickly killed off that payload means Edited going to get no more than halfway through Street's phase.
No, that was a good hold from COWZA. We saw great Widowmaker play, great control of high ground from the DPS of COWZA, and then we saw Scorpion just anchoring the team on point with Zarya. Wallace again was doing a great job. Hobo Parker as well, we haven't spoken a lot about, but it was doing a great job. As you say, teleporting, controlling high ground, holding high ground with the DPS, using that mobility of Kiriko. Edited, you think, could have maybe tried something new. They felt like they were slamming their head into a brick wall of just this Widowmaker on high ground. Maybe trying to swap the composition a bit. It'll be interesting to see if they decide to stick onto the Widowmaker, if they decide to open with the Sombra.
The scary thing to me, and this is where I want to get your opinion, is those Widowmakers definitely did work. When there was a Widowmaker on one team that was uncontested, both of them were able to find such value. Is it worth trading off that Widowmaker jaw? I mean, both of them seem to be going now for the Sombra, in fact, and Trizzle did show earlier how pivotal or how potent that Sombra is against the Widowmaker if you can track her down and be able to get that pick. But neither team seems to be favoring how much work or giving credit to how much work that Widowmaker did.
No, the Widowmaker is an interesting hero because especially in the era of Overwatch 2 where sightlines are so open, one of the only ways to shut down a Widowmaker is with a Widowmaker of your own. As long as your Widowmaker is alive, the Widowmaker is contesting the other Widowmaker. When the COWZA finds the pick on Trizzle or Trizzle finds the pick on COWZA, suddenly that Widowmaker is so free and they can do so much damage.
Maybe just a little bit too difficult to rely on that constantly. Somehow, Trizzle manages to get out there. He was deep. A nice high ground defense coming out here. Edited know what they want to do here. While meanwhile, COWZA kind of just going underneath. And there's a sneaky little back cap coming in here. COWZA decides to abandon it and go straight for the point. It's up to the Kiriko to try and challenge this out. The rest of Edited having to go back, and they've given up their high ground proficiency, leaving Sylvania to get picked at the beginning of this fight. Still, Paleo on this. Zarya holds firm in the front ground. Tries to push back. Scorpion has charged out into the open, but it seems to be working. The hack now coming out there. Paleo has nothing to do but stand and die as they get chewed apart by that damage amplification. And COWZA seeming to have none of the troubles that Edited had to take this first point.
No, we saw a good play there. COWZA putting the attention of Edited on point, meaning the Edited have to come back, give up the high ground, and contest point. We then saw a bit of a back and forth between Paleo and Scorpion. Scorpion had more charge, and Zarya with charge will always beat Zarya without charge. We're now going to see the swap onto the Reinhardt. They did have success in the previous maps with the Reinhardt.
Paleo, though, kind of abandoned on the ground there. Has, of course, support from the top, but it's not going to come in. Even the Baptiste now thrown in from Sylvania to just try and offer that high ground presence where you don't have to get involved with the Reinhardt, but the consistent healing and burst that you can do. And it's allowing Paleo to kind of stand his ground right now, even standing face to face with 3 players from the side of COWZA. In fact, has the confidence to start swinging. He's got Scorpion running for the hills. COWZA in the meantime doing work. Taking out Sylvania in the background means Paleo needs to be a little bit more careful. Paleo, having done the work already, though, has taken control of this payload and stalling it out. How long he can stay here, though, is yet to be decided.
If he stays in his current position, he's in a very strong position. This choke can be difficult to push through, especially in this position. They grab him, though. That's one answer.
Oh, grab instantly counted out by that shatter. Great way to stop the rest of COWZA coming in. It doesn't stop everyone, though. The bubble comes through to keep Scorpion alive. And the Genji blade that came out from Lighter did work. Trizzle finds a counterpoint, and that personal fight continues between the two of them. Still, now just the Kiriko trying to delay this payload a little bit for the side of Editor. They do not have a lot of space to work with. Trizzle going to try and work even more magic by dropping that EMP. Paleo back into the fight. Now has a little bit of space to start swinging, but remember, he can be kited quite easily. Kited, just dissected, and falls quite quickly there. And the rest of COWZA now has all the free space that they want to walk this payload forward for their first game.
It looks like it's going to end all here. This EMP could be somewhere, and there it is. The EMP was enough. That was exceptionally well played by COWZA. They kept building on every bit of momentum that they got.
Yeah, the momentum, right? It had to start with that they won that first fight. They were able to cause consternation in the beginning by getting COWZA to just go straight for the point. Paleo, this has to be the 3-person bomb here. And just no one able to run out of the way. Poor Wallace and poor Scorpion
no.
just kind of having to run there. You just know it's over right now. What do you think this comes down to here? COWZA, after struggling, I mean, it was a very close Lijiang Tower. The second map, much more favored for Edited. And now COWZA looking almost untouchable.
COWZA really turned up that game, which was, to a degree, they didn't in the previous games. If they can keep that performance, I think we might see the beginning of a reverse sweep here. I think it's now on COWZA to maintain their performance, but then also Edited to either figure something out or swap something. I think we might see them maybe return to the Roadhog. I think they were having a lot of success with the Roadhog. The Reinhardt, it worked for them in the first map, but it hasn't really worked for them since. I think we really need to see maybe the backline stepping up, because at times, if they do want to play this Reinhardt comp, the Reinhardt needs to survive. We can't have the Reinhardt dying like he is, and then all the backline dying like they are. It's really on Trigger and Sylvania to keep themselves alive and output damage and output healing at the same time.
That's a difficult task, because, I mean, we saw it. As long as Sylvania was alive on that Baptiste, was able to put in that healing and keep Paleo up and alive and walking forwards. But there's such an awareness from COWZA, that ability to go into the back line and take out the Baptiste. Great heads-up play coming out there. And this is the problem, is do you put all your energy in keeping your front line alive and then kind of sacrifice your back line? You don't have the peel of a second tank. Do you try and stick together a little bit more and then get run over by slashing, dicing players from both sides? I'm interested to see how now Edited is their job to try and figure out how to break through this COWZA line and keep their players alive for longer than they have been.
We might see a different, again, a 180 entirely right now because we're going to go to Circuit Royale, which is the sniper map. So maybe we might see a return to that Quagga and Trizzle head-to-head on Widowmaker. Quagga seemed to have the better of it in the last map. Maybe Trizzle just wasn't feeling it that map. Maybe he can turn it on. Sacrificing your tank versus keeping your backline aligned, it's a difficult decision because if your backline dies, it's kind of fight over. Everyone needs to be pulling their weight and keeping alive. That first pick is so important. It'll be interesting to see moving into Circle Royale if we do see that Widowmaker head-to-head, because let's not forget that Trizzle did swap off it onto the Sombra. Both teams seem to be favoring that Sombra.
Now, the other option is there are other heroes to now start countering out this Widowmaker. Something that comes to mind for me as a tank that can kind of get in, get out of trouble, come back to that backline if they need it, is the Winston. Why do you think Winston so far, with that reliance on controlling the high ground, with that emphasis on shutting down snipers, we haven't been seeing a lot of that hero?
We have been seeing a little bit of it from other teams, but not from these two teams, you're right. I think part of that is Winston isn't an independent hero. He's not like Wrecking Ball. He needs people to come with him. If Winston dives alone, he will die. He needs someone to look after him, whether it's an Ana, whether it's the DPS around him. He needs to be part of a unit moving together. I think partly why we're not seeing Winston is because we're not seeing a lot of Ana. With people running Kiriko, not a lot of Anas being played. Nano, of course, is very strong, and we did see a little bit here and there. And actually, speaking of which, we're going to see Zivania on the Ana. But Monkey requires a lot of babysitting in his own way. Okay. I think that's why people aren't running the Monkey. He is a very fun hero, though. I do quite enjoy the Monkey myself. And we're going to see that Widowmaker, Trizzle.
Oh, there we go. Quagga going back to that... That's going to be interesting. The Sojourn didn't prove to be very, very effective in the last round when met up with Trizzle's Widowmaker. I mean, that was the first pick that we saw on Parisio, and so it could be interesting if there's an early pick. So far, managing to stay alive. And look at the sight lines here for Trizzle. Just looks down that main street, is hammering back and forth. Unable to get a pick so far, but it is at least pushing back the COWZA lineup to the point where Edited can keep looking forwards. Right now, it is going to be actually Trigger being the first one to die. And most interestingly to me enough, Paleo picking up the first time on the Sigma. So far, not being able to keep his team alive. But what do you feel about the Sigma here?
I think the Sigma was an expectation of the Widowmaker. I think Edited thought that Quagga would be playing the Widowmaker, and this is a very, very strong map for Sigma, because Widowmaker is very strong on this map, and you have to have that Sigma to close down that site. It's one of the only options, and we saw just how much value, even though Trizzle's team didn't win the fight, how much value he was getting on the Widowmaker, even without killing anyone. He forced the team so far back.
Well, it is Edited going to have a second attempt at this now. They would love to be able to get some picks. There were no early picks in the previous fight, but Trizzle straight away back up onto that high ground, and shot after shot, a laser trail coming through there, unable to get any picks once more. It's kind of up to Edited to wait on that. There's your first pick, and it's a big one. Quagga goes down. The personal feud continues there. And now we see the sights coming out there. Widow still not, only really with the one pick so far, has at least managed to build it up. Water's doing his best to try and fight this back the other way with the Coalescence. Scorpion sitting on the very big Graviton Surge, though. That is a very big aspect and has been doing very well to throw those into good places. Edited grouping up a lot, has to be careful about that. There is the Graviton Surge. It's on 3 people, and Shutdown is lighter on that Dragon Blade. Suddenly by Trizzle taking that out and protecting his team, but it's not enough. Scorpion still able to run forward on this massive charge that he built up before dropping that. And it was basically all the Scorpion show to hold that point.
You really thought there that was game over, but then a great play. Trizzle lands that headshot on the ulting Dragon Blade, but then it's just too little too late, and the rest of the team finishes off. I think we might see a DC Scorpion.
That would not be good. That would not be good. Trizzle now actually deciding that the Widowmaker not easy enough to get those shots, not getting all the value that they want to. Goes for the very similar Sojourn now, trying to fight it out. Very far behind Quagga's ultimate, of course. But this is now the defining factor here for Circuit Royale. This slope to get up onto the second point. is, or at least the first point really, is very difficult. No, it is the second point. What am I talking about? This is where teams can really stall out, and it's up to COWZA to see how they control this high ground. We've seen a lot of teams kind of dive into the back line, Genjis, etc., cutting off that slope. But it seems like Editor just want to run themselves straight up, and it's a difficult task when you're going into the high charge Zarya that Scorpion is putting out time and time again, chasing down Paleo. Does manage to get a rock off to keep himself alive for now, but look at Editor turning and running for the hills.
Yeah, this is the weakness of the Sigma. He excels in these long-range fights and mid-range fights, but in a close-range fight against this Zarya, he is struggling.
Oh, double Kitsune rush overlap, but it's straight into that Graviton Surge. A really nice Suzu actually keeps everyone from Edited alive, and it's up to Shadow chewing through everyone with that Tac Visor. I think the Graviton Surge may have baited in the whole of the COWZA side, but it was such a beautiful turnaround. Hobo Parker, Trigger, in fact, being the Kikiro who managed to keep that up and keep his whole team going. Kiriko.
That was a really important fight for Edited, because now, as we see here, they're taking space. They're avoiding that killer high ground you spoke about earlier. And now we're going to see an interesting swap again. COWZA is back on that Widowmaker. He got so much value the last map. His sidelines are a bit tougher now on third, but already he's landing shots.
So Paleo has that arrogance and confidence to go forwards, and Trizzle actually being the one to take that at the beginning. Takes another one, in fact. Being able to take out the two squishies, and no more Widowmaker, no more annoying Moira is able to stand up to this. Paleo keeps up that pressure, rushing forwards, holding back what's left of the COWZA lineup, and that secures Edited the second point.
Decided to come out on the Widowmaker, take a few shots, die, and he said, you know what, I'm not actually going to play Widowmaker, and he swaps over to the Genji. I think that's the correct decision. I think the way COWZA need to play this is they need to play aggressive. They need to push through the Sigma, use this EMP, and force them on the back foot.
And there is the EMP. This gives the aggression. Here comes all the ultimates, in fact, coming out from COWZA. It will be enough to win them out the fight, but that was everything in the tank dropped for this fight.
It was. On the other hand, we're going to see the Coalescence, the Kitsune Rush, and the Tac Visor coming online soon for Edited. Those could be big ults, especially considering this Wallace pick late. That's really not good. COWZA will have to back out now and give space. I think we've lost Altruism, so I guess I'm taking over.
There we go.
Oh, no, he's back.
I'm back. And unfortunately, that was the thing, is they weren't even able to secure themselves too much time. Edited had managed to secure the point, and so if that was all the ults to stop it before it reaches that checkpoint, I think that's a very worthwhile investment. But now COWZA kind of getting pushed back into their own spawn. They're going to have to fight. It is going to be Kitsune versus Kitsune. The two of them basically overlapping, but Shadow being the one on top of that with his ultimate. He is firing so fast with that Tac Visor. COWZA still sitting back out of range, does manage to take out Trizzle, but there's not necessarily as many blue players left as they want. Scorpion goes down as well. It's Edited looking very healthy, and someone from COWZA has to come back. They've thrown 3 people at the point. It's a 3v3 fight at the end here. Savania draining the life out of Lighter at the end. Of course, the respawns are at the advantage of of COWZA, but Edited doing all the work they could possibly want, cleaning up kill after kill, and Scorpion unable to stop the complete push.
Yeah, I think that was a bit of a misplay from COWZA there on that third point. They took first, and they took a bit unlucky with, I think, maybe some internet issues with Scorpion dying, and then they had to give up first point. And then they took second point really well, but ult economy wasn't really in their favor. Third point was really one-sided to Edited, and I think maybe that's on COWZA being a bit of indecision on what he wants to play. He opens on the Widowmaker, he goes to the Genji, he then goes back to the Widowmaker, and then he swaps to the Tracer to stall. I feel like COWZA need to find their identity on this map. They need to either play aggressive or play split and look for spam angles. They haven't really decided how they want to play things.
And that's the thing about the Sigma. It is a great intuitive play here coming out from Paleo. Just offers that ability, and Paleo doing a great job to be able to retreat back. And good communication, you got to say, coming out from both these teams. They push together and they retreat together. Edited just doing it with a little bit more aplomb this time. And with that one map advantage that they've got, they only need one more to be able to clinch out the series.
Yeah, there we see in chat, it was just some PC issues that Scorpion had, and it cost COWZA first point. That PC issue might come back to bite them. We're going to see, again, another Sigma. I think that's a wise decision on this map. But interestingly, we're going to see Scorpion on the Reinhardt. Will it accompany with a Lucio? That is a big question, because I think if there is no Lucio, Scorpion is going to struggle to cross this wide open sight line with that shield. We are going to see the COWZA Widowmaker, though, on attack.
Man, that is going to be difficult. You got Paleo throwing in all the damage to break the shield. Shadow consistently able to pressure down the Reinhardts, and you can see these sidelines already putting pressure here on Scorpion. He's trying to just hug that tight angle, maybe looking to give a little bit of space here for COWZA to get set up. But it decides to actually just charge forward. You wanted them to play aggressive. You wanted them to walk through that Sigma shield. Well, Scorpion has that intention, and using that axe, who cares about sidelines? He's just going to do good pathing to close that distance and cleans it up instantly for COWZA.
That was perfectly played by COWZA. That's exactly what they needed to do. Pushing through that Sigma shield, perfect. Getting Scorpion into their face, and now we're going to see a Reinhardt head-to-head. Not the map you expected it on, but it'll be interesting to see.
Reinhardt being an interesting choice considering the advantage that this high ground gives, and Paleo actually drops down. He does not want to waste any time. He is stalling this out, forces Scorpion back a little bit. There's not a lot of cover here for COWZA. They need to flex stay under this bridge, and they seem to be doing a good job of it still. Editor taking control of this payload. It's up to who gets that first pick here. Dancing back and forth. The Reinhardt's trying desperately to control this first corner. Neither of them landing there. Oh, the block! The Earthshatter taken out. Scorpion unable to get anything through there, and that could have been everything that changed it. Now it's up to Wallace with the Coalescence to try and keep his team moving forward. Editor doing a good job of flexing back a little bit. Shadow, the one with the legs, unable to do anything for it, and yet again it's this aggressive Scorpion being the one to go through. Paleo though showing Alpha Reinhardt dominance, being able to charge through, pins out Hober Parker, taking out Wallace. That's both of the supports falling here for COWZA, and even though the valiant effort, it is the Reinhardt falling at the end of it, and COWZA picking up the second points.
Yeah, it's really interesting, really interesting. We saw a great play from Wallace there. After a great block of Shatter, we saw a great Coalescence to really push Edited back. And it got a lot of value and a lot of pickoffs. And then at the end, it was just clean up with that Reinhardt. This Reinhardt head-to-head is weird on this map. It's not something we see often, especially with the supports being played.
We see... Oh, the pin comes out there. Shadow goes down, but Paleo gets one the other way. COWZA sitting on this Reaper. We didn't even comment on it earlier. Does manage to take out Zevania, but quickly taken care of at the end there. Edited coming through there. The trader pins at the beginning caused some chaos for both these sides. No designated front line, but the Kitsune Rush coming out there from Edited really opened up for Edited to follow through there. Shadow as well, dropping that attack visor. They've dumped a lot into this point here. It's up now, though, with COWZA having the ultimate advantage and using that to such great efficacy. They've taken control of the point. Lighter going in with that Dragon Blade, and the rest of COWZA following up so quickly after that.
Yeah, that pick onto Paleo was really, really bad for Edited. Really well played by COWZA. That is your tank god. Tank is so important in Overwatch 2, and for him to die like that was so bad. Oh, another block.
Another
and
block.
Shatter.
This one from COWZA does find its way through. Paleo drops the shield after his got denied. And a good attempt from COWZA to try to at least turn that fight around. Edited tried so hard to push themselves out, but maybe getting a little bit anxious at the end there.
Yeah, it's a big time back now that we're looking at for COWZA, and it's very the game is very much in COWZA's favor with regards to momentum. There's no ults on the side of Edited. COWZA are going to come up to Coalescence soon, which we've seen great value from Wallace. If Paleo isn't getting the support that he needs, I think that's why we're seeing the Baptiste swap from Zevania.
Yeah, Baptiste there, again, now needs to stay alive, needs to worry. COWZA goes down in the backline. There isn't that backline pick potential, especially with Lighter going down there, and so it gives Zevania the chance to stay alive, and Paleo the freedom to charge forward. Did get a nice pin onto Scorpion, but Scorpion staying alive throughout that. Unfortunately for COWZA, they don't have a lot of other players, and Scorpion eventually has to charge for the hills, gets taken down on the retreat, and COWZA taken out and pushed back to where they started. So a different style coming through here, where Edited looked to be almost mirroring what COWZA did in the previous round.
Almost mirroring, well, not quite, but the styles the two comps want to play is very, very similar. We saw a great play from Chisel there, getting 2 picks with his railguns. it's now going to be interesting with this Reaper. Can COWZA dislodge Edited on the high ground? And they can. Trizzle going down.
Kitsune Rush comes up onto the high ground, just giving that extra boost to Shadow. Such a big play there. Earth Shadow comes out here from Scorpion, but eventually he kind of charges through when everyone is dead, and Shadow cleans up there.
Yeah, that was a really well played fight for Edited, and a fight that they needed, because like, the time bank is still very much against them. Yes, they did full cap, but if COWZA had capped at this point, it would not be looking good for Edited. Edited do have control of this high ground around this approach, and COWZA seem to be struggling with this route. Maybe a new pathing is what they need.
It might come down to a sneaky little play coming out here. Oh, big Kitsune Rush, but it's after the Earth Shadow already set down there by Palio. Here comes the definitive ultimate, that Death Blossom trying from Quagga, and just kind of fractured fights here the whole way around for COWZA. They win out every one of them. They drop everything that they can into this fight, but they have pushed Edited back for now. Now with each team coming back with 2 ultimates apiece. Sylvania being a pick at the end here. It's going to be a scrappy final push here. But 2 minutes left on the time bank for COWZA.
Yeah, it's still looking good for COWZA. That's a really, really good pick-off onto Sylvania. Oh, but Shadow responds really well.
Lighter going mad in the background there, using that Dragon Blade combined with Wallace's Coalescence does give them the picks that they need to. Sylvania's still alive. Someone needs to get back here. There's not a big initiating ult here coming out from Edited. They're going to have to try something. They've got that amplification up here for the overcharge at least. Trizzle making work with that overcharge. Manages to get 2 picks with that railgun. This is what a DPS with aim has to do with his team. Being able to create that with millimeters to go, just short of the final point. We thought that COWZA may have had it, but now they've got a tough task ahead of them.
Yeah, with a huge time bank, now it's only 1 minute remaining. They also don't have that many ults. Neither team has that many ults, in fairness. Shadow with this visor is going to be really important. If he can get value, that could be it for this map. It's really on COWZA now to make the plays and not get picked off early.
Shadow doesn't have a great place to try and set up for this visor, unfortunately. May have to just retreat to the back of the point and fire damage down range and bait the rest of COWZA into it. Palio doing a stalwart job, though, of holding the front line. You can see the pockets healing coming in there, just trying to give him there. The Earth Shadow comes through. It finds Shadow, but Shadow cleansed up, is able to be picked up straight away. Now it's his turn to try and choose through some players. He gets 1, he gets 2, managing to turn this around. That's the 3rd one for Shadow, being able to use that attack visor. There's still 2 players here from COWZA on the point, and they're 2 big, beefy players. Quagga on that Reaper, able to do damage to everyone there. The swinging hammer coming through as well from Scorpion. Scorpion has almost no HP left. And Trizzle trying to fight this out there. He realizes that there's blood in the water. Somehow Scorpion still stays alive. Eventually, Quagga goes down. He was on the verge of that Death Blossom. So still, with seconds left to go, either team could come out here. Good reinforcements, but the Earth Shadow eventually Edited take it down there. It is going to be Palio finding that edge at the end and cleaned up by Shadow. Edited take it out. Lighter trying valiantly to clean it up at the end there. He's got 2 with the Dragon Blade, 3 with the Dragon Blade, but eventually goes down there. Quagga manages to reinforce with this Death Blossom, meets up into the big shield that is Palio. And if Palio can clean this up there somehow, COWZA now managing to reinforce. They've got the Coalescence. Wallace trying to keep it up. Palio's done a good job to stall it out for now. COWZA, have they turned it? They have. They've managed to do it. Trizzle just trying to bounce around this point. Has managed to stall it out for a little bit. But somehow, COWZA brings it back to take it in overtime.
Oh my. That was one of the longest, most drawn out, most ult invested, back and forth, 4K here, 3K there. What on earth was that? That was so well played by both teams. Individual heroics from, I think, everyone.
But you can't hand this back to me, dude. I just talked about that for a minute, going back and forth.
I'm just a bit speechless. I mean, I thought it was over when Quagga didn't get his Death Blossom off. I thought that was going to be it. Quagga was sitting at 90% for his Death Blossom, and it looks like that's going to finalize it. Just Death Blossom on point and game over. COWZA are going to finish, and then he died. And then Lightigo comes back and gets the 3K. And, I don't know if that was before. It was such a long fight, I lost track. And then it's just individual heroics after individual. The Shatter, the Blade, everything.
I cashed it out after Paleo hit that massive Earth Shatter. He managed to get 3 people through, and then it just looked like, okay, Scorpion, COWZA, that's all I need to be able to take out. Scorpion goes down super low on HP, and I'm like, right, Scorpion's going to go down. Somehow the Cleansing Suzu comes through, keeps Scorpion alive with Trizzle trying to hunt him down. Man, back and forth. We just need a good clip of that entire thing, because that may have been some of the most intense casting I've had to do from the most intense players. And it means that still we have to go to another round. 1 minute on the clock here comes out from COWZA, considering they started with a 4-minute time bank. 2 minutes left here for Edited, and it starts with a COWZA pick.
And is he gonna swap? No, he isn't. He got that pick and he thought about swapping maybe to something to build on the momentum. But he's gonna stay on the Widowmaker. I think what we need to have is someone in chat go back and watch that fight and count all the ultimates. Because there's definitely were more than 10.
At least 43, I'm sure. That's my guess. That's at least what I found out. Getting into this, though, 26 seconds on here. COWZA basically needs to keep control. It is the Ryan battle. They're fighting it out. Scorpion gets a good pick. COWZA pays with their life, though. Scorpion, a nice pin there. Gets Shadow out there, trading back and forth. Yet still, it's Scorpion leading the charge. What an alpha male coming through there. The Chad Rideheart coming through. It seems like they may have actually been able to push this out. Edited, going to be content to fight it out here. Trizzle tries valiantly. But it is going to be at least 1 point that COWZA is able to pick up.
Well, they haven't quite got it yet, though. Wallace did some, Zavani did some good stalling. And probably, oh, but it's a big shatter!
Oh, okay, yeah, I should know better than to count either of these teams out there. Paleo in the background, cleaving back and forth, somehow stayed alive for a little bit longer. But it is Scorpion kept alive by the team. Eventually, it does click over, and now I can clock out.
That was a mass point. We saw really, really good stall from Edited, from Zavania touching long enough to let his team come back. But then we did see the cap from COWZA, and that's massive because now, as we saw in the previous push, they can really build momentum. They can push past this oppressive high ground, and they have ults coming online. They're going to have their Blade, and they're going to have their Coalescence, which Wallace has been exceptional at using.
It's up to Paleo.
Oh, no.
It's up to this Earth Shadow. Wallace goes down without being able to use that Coalescence. We do see the Suzu keeping Paleo alive. He's turning around. He really wants to get through. There's Scorpion going down. They've still got that. Oh, no, the Shadow was used. And eventually it cleans it up. Edited, being able to stop it. But whether this is going to be enough of a hold is yet to be seen. There's only 2 minutes left on this clock.
That was a really, really, really good push from COWZA. Only 1 minute on the clock, and they get first point. That was the important part. They get a little bit of the way through second. A bit unfortunate there. In Overwatch, so often the team that ults first is going to win the fight, and we didn't see that from COWZA. I really thought they had momentum there, but Edited used their ults and they got value. That crucial pick-off onto Wallace, who had his Coalescence.
Yeah.
And then it was just too little. COWZA had nothing more to give. Whether Edited can push remains to be seen. They did struggle on first point in their previous push.
I think a big thing is that payload didn't get to the very top of the hill. You know, that halfway mark is such a miasmic point for them to try and fight out. It could go any way. Oh, 2 minutes left on the clock. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is Edited for the win if they can take this. If not, if COWZA do manage to hold this, they go and take it to a game number 5.
Yeah, it's really COWZA have nothing to lose here. Well, everything to lose here, I should say. They have to hold this point or it's over. If they win, we'll be looking at a reverse sweep. Let's not forget here, last time we saw this, Edited only took the point after some PC issues from Scorpion. So it remains to be seen if Edited can push through this first point. So as we've got the Sigma coming out and interestingly, the Sombra from COWZA on COWZA.
Oh, some big changes, some sneaky changes coming through there. COWZA could be pivotal in picking off key targets there and just slowing down every one of these fights. We've seen Wallace and Scorpion be able to take this toe-to-toe time and time again. And so if you're doing that 4v5, it could do a lot. There is a great fire strike coming through from Scorpion, and now he charges forward, unafraid to cleave into the back line. It's up to Edited. They are running for the hills, but they are being chased down by a wall of players. Yeah, COWZA not losing a single person in that fight.
No, that was perfectly played by COWZA. Edited's issue, again, is the Sigma. If you can push that Sigma down, he really, really struggles.
Yeah.
COWZA, they soaked that pressure, they backed up through onto the corner, forcing COWZA into a position they don't really, forcing Edited into a position they don't really want to be in, and then they executed really well. And we saw that Scorpion did really, really well. They're getting value. And a big shadow now.
Big Shadow takes out Paleo, but Paleo actually gets Suzu'd up. That protects him not just from the Shadow, but from the charge as well. Now it's up to Edited to push back forward. They can't really go through Wallace. Wallace's Coalescence doing too much work, but it hasn't got any picks just yet. The Suzu keeping Paleo up alive one more time. COWZA's dived in deep at this stage. They've really wanted to commit to this fight, and it could cost them. They've lost Scorpion. Lighter doing work on the back line. He's even used that Dragon Blade, and it seems to be doing a lot there. Paleo kind of left on his own. Has to stay alive. Does get picked up by the Suzu. Trizzle trying to turn this fight around. He has got some sight lines to work with to try and take out these COWZA players. 26 seconds left on the clock, though, is the big problem here for Edited. They still have a long way to push, and COWZA has done super well. Here comes the double, almost simultaneous Kitsune rushes. It is going to be Shadow. He tried to use that tank visor and was taken out straight away. Gravitic Flux to fight it out and take out the counter DPS player here for COWZA. Edited now going to be dropping their own Coalescence. They're going to have the chance to push forwards. They don't have a lineup, though, that really wants to run into your face. Scorpion able to hold this out. Big EMP! It's going to be Quagga turning this around, opening up everything for COWZA. Scorpion once more in the place where he wants to be. He charges for, even drops that ultimate, that Earth Shatter at the end there. And it seems Edited not long for this world after that.
That was perfectly played by COWZA, who are gonna take this map win, and we're looking at the possibility of a reverse sweep. We haven't had any reverse sweeps yet. We saw one almost, but COWZA played that so perfectly. They understood the limits of their comp. They don't have the speed boost, so they just keep backing up. They keep backing up. They soak that pressure until they have advantage, and at which point the Sigma can't run away, and they execute, and they swing into that Sigma. We're seeing a lot better play from Paleo. Paleo was struggling on the Reinhardt in previous maps, but they figured out how they're going to play this comp, and it's working really well. We're seeing really good play from all of the players on COWZA.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have come through. It looked like COWZA was going to take it in the beginning of Lijiang, and Edited grabbed hold of the game and took it to 2 games up, to game point. Now COWZA has brought it back all the way to the verge of a reverse sweep. We're having some players saying that they just need a second to restart PCs, maybe grab a drink of water. I think it's time for us to grab one as well. So we're going to take a very, very short 5-minute break and come back for the final match, the final map between these two teams in the last game here of the Kiriko Cup, brought to you by COWZA. Don't go anywhere. Fluffy and I will definitely not be missing this, and we hope you don't either. We'll see you in a second.
Welcome back to the Kiriko Cup. We have map 5 for you of the COWZA versus Edited. The reverse sweep is on. It's here. We haven't seen one yet, but the way this game is shaping up, COWZA look to be in the driving seat. The momentum is with them.
It's not just going to be a reverse sweep, man. It's going to be like 5-minute long overtime fights to do the reverse sweep. We're going to a game number 7, a map number 7 of 3. I'm sure somehow these teams will pull it off because I have not seen a close matchup like this. We called it map number 2, I think it was, that this was a close matchup, and man, we were not wrong.
I think the only round we've seen that wasn't close was the first round of the first map on Control. Other than that, every round has been 100 to 99 or full cap and full cap. That fight at the end of Circle Royale we just saw was insane. It was so many ults. It was so long. It was so well played from both teams.
Yeah.
You saw an individual heroic from every single player on both teams. Now going into this next map though, all of that doesn't matter. This is it.
I'm interested to see what you have to say about this because this is going to be big. It's Busan. You talk about Lijiang having variation in their maps. Busan also has a lot here. Where do you think that these teams are going? I mean, a lot of these Busan maps have the big open sight lines. That's something like a Widowmaker is able to provide a lot of or at least find a lot of purchase on. Something like the Reinhardts can struggle, but I mean, both these teams have been running Reinhardts on the long sidelines. What is going to be the difference maker between these two teams?
I think it really depends what map we go to. So if we go to Mecha Base, I think we're going to see the Reinhardt head-to-head. And we've seen COWZA really figure out how they want to play this Reinhardt comp. Soaking that pressure, closing that distance, and then executing really, really, really well. On the other hand, we're going to go to downtown, which is a sniper's paradise. We've got high grounds on opposite sides of the map, as you said, and then we've seen COWZA doing really, really well on the Widowmaker, getting really good picks. So it's kind of, you know, Edited with 2-0 up, and now they're facing the final point, and I don't know. I don't know if it's in their favor. They have the mental game against them. They've got the map pick against them, and we are going to go to Mecha Base. I think this is favoring the COWZA.
I mean, COWZA's definitely shown that they're coming out with a very aggressive Reinhardt style. They tried in the beginning to go for that dive the backline. Now they're just pushing forwards with brute force through whatever Edited is trying to throw at them.
Yeah, they've figured out how they want to play this. They didn't have success with it earlier. They have figured how to absorb the pressure, LOS that damage, and then execute really well, of course, without the Lucio, which is the impressive part of it. What I think is going to be interesting is, will we see a SOP from Edited? And we're not going to. We're going to see the Reinhardt. We're going to see that Reinhardt head-to-head. But we are going to see Scorpion on the Zarya. This is interesting now. They had such success with the Reinhardt on the last map, they're going to decide to swap off of the Reinhardt on this map, which is the Reinhardt map.
And COWZA going onto the Sombra, we have seen some good efficacy from both teams on that Sombra. Definitely much more the kind of get Scorpion to shove it into their face. Wallace with those coalescence has been fantastic, so glad to see him back on that. But the backlines here of Edited need to worry for themselves. They've obviously got something like Shadow's biotic grenade that they can pop down to help them out. Zivania are going to be very happy that they're going onto a Moira to try and stay alive across this dive. But eventually there's got to be something here from Edited that they can push back, and here comes our early hack to come out. Paleo though wasting no time taking out Lighter, and so Lighter going to be going back, and there comes the lovely Helix grenade to take out COWZA. Both of the DPS falling, and very shortly afterwards Trizzle gets that pick, Shadow gets the pick, and it's up to COWZA to retreat backwards. Still, that Ryan Zarya matchup seems to be costing COWZA on this first map.
Yeah, and then immediately we're going to see the swap. I wonder why they decided not to open with the Reinhardt in the first place when they had so much success with it. But now we're going to see the Reinhardt swap. Maybe a little too late because Edited now have ult advantage. We might see the ult economy sag out in favor of Edited and away from COWZA.
Yeah, that's a big aspect of it. And with Lighter trying to retreat out there, gets a Helix Rockets to the face. We only just managed to avoid that big swinging hammer there, but paid with their life. And this is even more ult economy going towards Edited. They're going to be very happy here. And it seems like COWZA struggling to even walk up this hill. Even with Zivania now having that coalescence, if they can drop that at the right time here, I think it's all going to come down to whether COWZA, no, I think not, gets taken out there. So no pick from the side.
Yeah, like you said, this coalescence proving massive in these small choke points. It can get a lot of value. And like you say, the ult's coming going in favor, but that's a massive shatter and it gets both supports.
That is huge. Paleo gets taken out towards the side and then trying to get back to his team just opens up the opportunity for Scorpion to lay in there. Thankfully for Edited, Trizzle was able to evade that, being able to stay alive with Zivania and even the soldier, Shadow, avoiding that, is able to turn around 3v5 and keep possession of it. 70% already on the board here for Edited.
Now we're looking at a very, very dangerous situation for the COWZA because Edited have 4 ults. And it's at last fight territory. Edited, you're going to see them throw all these ults at COWZA, and the likelihood is they're probably going to win with that.
Oh, and the Shadow to start it off there. Big play. Light is going to have to pull something out of this. It's Dragon Blade for Dragon Blade. Trizzle being the one to pick it up so far there. Unfortunately for Lighter, only the one pick there. And like you said, last fight territory. Just good awareness from Edited to throw those ults down straight away.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to touch here. No, and we're going to see the first round go in favor of Edited. I'm really curious why COWZA decided not to open with the Reinhardt on Reinhardt's strongest map. I think we're having some lag issues with the server, perhaps, but it seems like a different like they played the Reinhardt so well in the previous map, and I'm so curious as to why they decided not to play it on this round. We are going to have a pause since we're having some technical issues with the players.
Unfortunately there, Quagga just struggling a bit on the ping, and you know, when you're playing a Sombra, that's kind of important that you can jump out at the right time. So we want this to be decided the right way, right? So this has got to be coming down to a skill thing. Both teams showing that they can try for it, but like you said, that awareness of COWZA just not, or maybe trying something different, but they were making it work so much. This is now going to be a much harder map to come through and draft against your opponents. I think that Edited going to be very content to run with the Reinhardt. They've tried to show lots of different variations, and it just, nothing has worked as well as when they just decide to put up the big shield.
Yeah, it's an interesting head-to-head, and we're going to go into, I believe, Sanctuary now. Yeah, where does it pause and spawn? Sanctuary not as strong for Reinhardt, but he can work because there is no real high ground to mitigate. I hope that if COWZA do want to play this Reinhardt, they open with it, because what we saw last round was COWZA opening on the Zarya, losing that fight, and then the ult economy being in favor of Edited. Oh, and then we're going to see someone leave as Quagga. Okay.
Yeah.
The entire team being down on ults after losing those. They lost the first fight, being at disadvantage with the Zarya into the Reinhardt, and then they lost the second fight. And it kind of snowballed out of control, and they didn't ever get capped. Maybe, though, we did see in the first map, the first round of the first map on Control was very one-sided. After that, we saw close rounds. Maybe these 2 rounds, if history is anything to go by, will be closer.
Of course. You know what the weird thing about that ult economy and that swap was? It was still Scorpion to get out the first Earth Shatter.
True.
Somehow. I mean, Paleo, I think, held onto it for so long, but that pin towards the side from Scorpion, that changing angle was such a heads-up play that they were able to remove that turnaround and shatter. It still didn't win them the fight for COWZA, unfortunately, but it was a great awareness, and certainly interesting that Edited has had this tendency. I don't know if I'm talking out of turn here or if you've noticed it as well. Edited do sometimes seem to go down in a fight when they still have 3 or 4 ultimates left in the backline.
But to be honest, that's better. That's better than using... If you're losing a fight, rather hold your ults and use them for next fight. Don't use your ults into a losing fight, which is what we saw COWZA doing that last round. They used lots of ults, but it was always too little too late. We saw, for example, Scorpion's great shatter, and it got both supports, and we both exclaimed, that's a great shatter. But at that point, his team was already down 1 or 2 players, and it's difficult to come back from a losing situation like that.
Well, COWZA, yeah, that's the big thing, right? The Devo. How do you think that? What do you think COWZA's thinking that they're going? Yeah, Reinhardt's, we've done so well on it, but Diva is the way forwards. What is Diva bringing to the party here?
Diva brings aggression and burst damage. If they press W together, decide on one target, and they can kill them, we might see COWZA perform well, but they really have to execute on that. There is the Suzu.
Unfortunately for them, not being able to burst anyone down, just being turned aside by that big push there. The Reinhardt shield being able to mitigate the damage from everyone trying to come through that small choke. And it is going to be Edited pushing onto the point straight away. Now having the awareness to go back up to the high ground. COWZA kind of just having to retreat backwards, think about a different route around. They've got Quagga trying to get into position on the Sombra, get onto a key pick. Gets a hack, but pretty much playing a frontline Sombra right now, not really flanking around. Here goes Invis, trying to get into the back line. It's up to this first pick, but that's not going to help. When you lose a pick at the beginning of the fight like this, Lighter was important, and Hobo Parker goes down straight away afterwards. Quagga is going to have to create some magic here, unable to do so, and it may just have to be second fight now here, going the way of Edited.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of nerves there because Lightergo has gone down twice first in these first two fights. We're going to see the Shadow now coming online soon, and that can be so dangerous into a team without a tank. We're only seeing the remake now, so this is a bad situation for the COWZA. Hopefully they can get some value out of their ults that they're coming online now.
Shadow now has that ultimate. He's got a lot of work out of that before, but he and Trigger both go down very low. Trigger going to be the one to pay with their life. A lot of aggression coming out here from COWZA. They've decided to commit to the point, and Lighter going to be using that. But it's the Earth Shatter. It's the Earth Shatter that shuts down the Genji Blade. Straight away, takes him out with a kill. Here comes a bomb over the top. Actually just sticks to the wall. Takes out Trizzle here. And so COWZA still alive in this. 2v2 on point. It is going to be a Moira for both sides there. And the Sombra reinforcing here. This is going to be big. Scorpion takes out Shadow, and now trying to chase down the rest of these players. Somehow Edited still stalling this out for a little bit longer, but the eventual slow drain, that is Wallace, takes out 84% on the board for Edited. COWZA has a lot to do in their last gasp chance.
I think that was, in all things, that was a good fight for Edited. They lost the fight, yes, so while it could have been better, but they lost and they kept important ults, and they just one by one died on point while they had control. We're going to see a big fight now. Dragon Blade from Edited, Visor from Edited, but importantly, the EMP on the side of COWZA. If this EMP can get value, I think, there it is.
That was huge instantly after the Kitsune Rush, but the Kitsune Rush still keeps most people alive, and Edited managed to keep charging forwards. They flanked themselves around the point. They've got people alive. The EMP came out and hit everyone, but there was no follow-up that they could come into the amount of extra damage and extra healing that Kitsune Rush came out. Wallace now trying desperately. He's worked magic with this ultimate before. Now trying to keep himself alive. Unfortunately, only has one jump. And Edited come back into this. They've got control of the point. Still, COWZA are going to be able to reinforce. They must not trickle now. They cannot afford to give away any picks. They're certainly not going to win contention of the point. And it's coming down to one more fight Edited need.
Someone they're going to have to touch. I think the Sombra is going to touch. I think, yes, they got overtime. This is worst case scenario because all these ults and they're in a losing fight.
Oh, Earth Shatter comes out when Shadow had already dropped that attack visor. That means that D.Va cannot defense Matrix anything there. Sylvania now being the one with the coalescence to keep everyone alive, chew through anyone who's left, and that's it. It takes down Edited. They brought it all the way to a game 5. They had 2 in there and wanted to keep it interesting for us. We said we wanted to see as much Overwatch tonight as possible. I didn't think it would come to this, but it still goes the way of Edited.
No, it was a really, really good game, and both teams played exceptionally well. COWZA opened really strongly, and then, Edited opened really strongly, and then COWZA brought it back at those 2 map wins. A bit of it, I think COWZA will be disappointed with how they played in that last map, because that last map was quite one-sided in the favor of Edited. But you can't take that away from Edited. They played that really well. They were winning fights they shouldn't win. They were winning fights using one ult. They were winning fights using no ult, and they just took those ult fights and they won them. Exceptional play from Edited, a really good game, and I think while COWZA can be disappointed with how that last fight went, obviously they'll be disappointed with the result. I don't think they can be disappointed with their performance. They played so well, both teams did.
Oh, very much so. Massive shout out to both these teams. Some of the most entertaining Overwatch that I've got to see, and I do love this Overwatch 2. The way that these fights play out, the speed that they come through there. It's not just sit and shoot at a shield anymore, guys. I think we've had a great confirmation about that. Even the Reinhardts on the biggest maps possible are in there swinging. Pathing so important now. The picks that both of these teams, that fight, that little personal vendetta that Trizzle and Pacha were able to throw at each other constantly there. Wonderful fight coming out from both these teams. A little bit of a drafting thing maybe separating them at the very end, but the changes, the variations that both these teams were able to try out there, and varying levels of success make me so excited for the viability of so many different team comps here in Overwatch 2.
Yeah, we've seen lots of team comps, and you're right. It is exciting moving forward. Both these teams will, of course, be playing next weekend. These are the final games of the round robin, the group stage, and they'll be seeded, and they will both make it to playoffs. COWZA are looking to be both these teams are looking to be strong teams moving forward. Hopefully, we can see more performances like this from both of them next weekend.
And that's the best part, ladies and gentlemen, is no one has got knocked out after this weekend. This was just for the seeding. Every one of the 8 teams is still here next weekend. Next weekend, we start to get to the real pointy end of it, where we start to see who is going to be crowned our first Overwatch 2 champions here in South Africa. The Kiriko Cup comes to a close. A wonderful statement. When we get there next weekend, I'm obviously going to be joining us. Fluffy, are you going to be here next weekend? Because I can imagine you've been excited.
Remains to be seen. I will probably be doing many things, and we'll let you know if I'll be casting next week. I think we will have some Sun Phoenix and Altruism, so don't worry, everyone.
Oh, well, we hope to see you there. And everyone who's had the pleasure of joining us here tonight, I hope you have enjoyed the action as much as we do. We don't have a final standings right now. Make sure to follow the ZA Overwatch Twitter, because I'm sure all of the standings will be posted there by the end of it. Or, of course, the ZA Overwatch Discord is where all of that information is going to be. Don't go anywhere. No one is out of it. We are looking forward to seeing you guys for next weekend. But for now, that's it. That's us for a wrap. What a pleasure. What a game. And what a scene that we're going to have in the future. We look forward to it, and we'll see you next time.
My name, you toil and tumble, you play your games, 'cause I know you don't have what it takes. I'll build an empire from your mistakes. I'll build an empire from your mistakes. So try your luck, give me all you got. So come and get it.